The final frontier. It is impossible to say with full certainty what this will be for humanity. Akin to fans of Star Trek, Americans are drawn to obsess about the next frontier and what opportunities and experiences it may bring. Initially beneath the radar for most Americans, the invention of gypsum board, or drywall, in 1917 by the United States Gypsum Corporation, was a brand new frontier of construction. Replacing several earlier and less effective versions of drywall, as well as its predecessor, plaster and lath, drywall answered a call for more time and therefore more cost-efficient construction. Such improvement in such an integral part of the country's development is destined to have significant societal impact, and drywall is not excluded from this logic. The invention of drywall left an impression on the history of racial segregation and injustice in the United States, as well as warn of manufacturing oversights. Gypsum board, due to its properties and relative cost, is part of an industry that revolves around quick demolition and construction. This supports the idea of a dynamic human environment. While the dangers of overexpansion are very present in our minds today, the rapid development of the United States, which took place after World War II, depended on this catalyst of construction. With the great economic shift in post-war US came a physical shift in its people. Straying farther from the industrialized hubs of inner cities, people moved to newfound suburbs in hopes of cheaper housing for their now larger families. Wealthy developers either built or mass-produced communities of homes, many of which were produced with gypsum board, in the most part due to efficiency of construction. Builders could hardly keep up with the demand for new homes, and the growing communities came to grow themselves as businesses and services flocked to the new concentration of customers. While gypsum board was not an origin of this societal expansion, it was, as earlier stated, a catalyst. By lowering construction costs, the use of gypsum board increased availability and decreased the price of these homes, increasing the amount of people who could live in these buildings.
Yeah, but other than those good things, drywall sucks. Due to the lower cost for building material, drywall can be linked to the abandonment of cities. The inexpensiveness of building homes worked to accelerate white flight and gentrification in the 1950s and 60s as more white people moved to suburban areas where they can build houses for cheap. At the same time, they also buy up poor urban real estate where they can build new residential projects easier and charge even more to live there. These cities' policies is then focused on the rich, white neighborhoods, leaving black neighborhoods in
poverty.
Drywall also has issues extending to the medical field today, as in recent years defective drywall produced in both the US and China have been shown to release sulfur gas. The gas is not only harmful to breathe in, but also corrodes wiring and household appliances. Drywall also poses an environmental threat, as leftover drywall from building projects is often sent to landfills.
Also bad.
Once there, drywall rots and releases hydrogen sulfide. Now, it doesn't sound great.
Also bad.
Which is toxic to humans, and runoff poisons rivers and leads to acid from evaporation.
Acid!
Rain. Drywall has also become a hallmark of the American middle class and American culture. People love this stuff. But I think its idealism and its low cost were maybe short-sighted in its environmental and societal impact. It really defined the middle class and the baby boom, but at the same time, at what cost?
At what cost? The invention of drywall has been integral to several processes, whether it be suburbanization, changes in construction regulation, or the realization of its own dangers. However, it was the scale and speed of post-war suburbanization that demerits drywall as a key component in widening racial inequality gaps within American society. In comparison to previous building methods like using plaster and lath, construction using drywall can take up to 10 times faster, producing up to 10 times as many completed projects as before. This resulted in decreased labor costs, which decreased housing costs, and as previously stated, allowed for many white and affluent Americans to leave the industrialized city in favor of a more spacious and affordable home in the minute-built suburbs. Costs in the suburbs may have been low for the space and amenities provided, but the mass exodus from urban areas decreased the housing costs here. Urban rents decreased and urbanization eventually increased, but these were paired with a significant decrease in productivity. Not only was the focus of most policy shifted to suburban areas, decreasing urban development and improvement, but so shifted was the focus of businesses. An increase of the concentration of people and businesses in the suburbs was a decrease in concentration of both businesses and jobs in the cities.
While we can't attribute the invention of drywall to the racial inequality gap in America, we can definitely talk about how it separated, classes. It expanded the issue of white flight to something way more serious as whites moved from cities to suburban areas, creating this really attributing partly to the racial inequality gap. And craze turned to trend. Drywall became a staple of American society and, really quickened the cogs of the machine that was suburbanization and really affected the racist automation of the United States as we know it today. This automation also quickened by the introduction of the GI Bill, which was given to very few black soldiers following the Second World War. And it also led to a hastening in white flight and was catalyzed by the invention of drywall and the ease at which people could build homes in these suburban areas.
Drywall as a medium for building has become embedded in our social fabric. It increased the potency of various social movements from white flight due to the GI Bill and the decline of the American urban landscape. Though, at the same time, drywall and the decline of the American urban, drywall is negatively impacting the environment we live as any contact from water, be it a natural disaster or landfill waste, will cause it to release harmful toxins to the environment and the people that live in it.
And despite this fact, drywall maintains itself as a symbolic piece of American culture. It represents the last generation of social movement and some of the rifts we see in society today. Drywall is a staple commodity of the middle class and represents the working culture Americans have endeared to the pulled up by your bootstraps attitude of the past. It's not great. Sad. No. We should stop recording here. I'm starting to think that maybe... Welcome to It's Late with Joe. I'm your host tonight, and tonight on the show we're having Connor Travers. Come on out. What is
Thank you so much for having me, Joe. It's been so long.
It has been a while. No. Tonight we're talking about drywall. Which,
yeah.
Connor knows a little bit about drywall.
I have.
And so Connor, has drywall had a lasting effect on America?
Joe, I think it has. The invention of drywall created a lot of social and economic rifts in America, and I think that a lot of the racial divides that we see every day in our lives, in our cities, these are some things that could be a result of drywall,
Yeah, but do you think the benefits of drywall outweigh the social consequences?
See, that's a tough one because drywall, it made things fast, right? Fast building, more construction, quicker development. But it is at what cost? And many of the struggles that we have politically within our society, they have to do with racial divides. And who's to say that solving these social problems from the beginning wouldn't mean that we would be more technologically advanced today?
Do you think in the future we'll move away from building with drywall?
I'm sure that eventually we'll come up with a building solution a construction method, a formulation of demolition that supersedes the drywall dogma
Of today.
of today.
And what's your skincare routine? You look